Hey, I'm FeedBackGaming. This is Victoria 3. This is an every single click video where I'll show you 99.9% of all the clicks in Victoria 3. Hopefully so you can follow along with the game and hopefully learn it and become a pro Victoria 3 player. Maybe not that far, but we can make you a lot better. But we can give you enough knowledge to play the game more comfortably. Be aware, fortunately in Victoria 3, there is a lot of RNG, random number generation, meaning your game's events may not play out the same way as mine. And any opportunity where something may play out differently, I'll let you guys know, and I'll let you know how to adapt and adjust to those specific changes. Unlike in Hoi, where you kind of have a more predictable game and less RNG, with this one, unfortunately, the outcomes are going to be very, very different. All right, new game. I'm going to start a game without an objective. We're going to play a medium to major power in this game. Now, playing a minor power and rising up to a major or a great power is a different game completely. We can make another video on that if that's what you guys want to see. Be aware, some nations start off with certain issues that need to be resolved. For instance, Japan needs to westernize and restore its old monarchy. Ottomans have the sick man of Europe, and you have to fix internal issues in Ottomans. Same with Russia too. They have a lot of issues with tax collection. I wouldn't recommend these as starter nations. They're not usually going to be the very best. In this case, we're going to go with Sweden. To play with standard game rules, which achievements are turned on. The kind of end objective is to form Scandinavia, but we're going to show you how to industrialize, build a decent industry, and go from there. One of the issues you start with is Sweden is your population. It isn't very high. You may have some fantastic resources, iron, wood, iron, lead, more wood, and agriculture, as well as naval bases. Practically all of your states are 10 out of 10. They are amazing. Unfortunately, though, the population of your nation is not very high. So therefore, you can run into issues building your workforce. You just got to be a little bit more careful of where you build your factories. Having a technology lead will be the difference between winning wars, building an efficient industry, and keeping your pops happy. Do you know who else thinks that? Rise of Kingdoms. Rise of Kingdoms is an amazing game for your phone or computer. The focus is conquering your neighbors through a variety of means. This could include anything from overwhelming numbers or having unstoppable technological advantage. You unlock elite soldiers from any period in history. You can do this by researching their prerequisites. What does that mean, I hear you ask? Well, you can't have this Chad English longbowman without researching the longbow. Can you? You can play any civilization you want from Rome to Egypt. And like I said, you can do this either on your phone or on your computer. You can customize your city in loads of different ways and view it on the enormous map. But be aware, on this map, you can find friends as well as foes. Don't forget, you can join alliances with other people and get involved in a huge team battle. If you like history, if you like strategy, if you like conquering, and download Rise of Kingdoms using the link in my description. Hey, give it a click. All right, first thing we're going to do is hop into buildings here and just have a little of what's going on. So we've got 3 textile mills, 1 tooling station, 3 paper mills, shipyards, arms, urban. Rural, we've got rye farms, livestock, iron mines, logging. This is great because iron and tools are the kind of primary 2 resources you start off the game with to start your kind of industrial revolution. With lots of iron mines, a lot of them in Gotland and Svivland, and also you've got some tools in Scandinavia. By the way, not Swedish, probably pronouncing these all completely wrong. You hop into your market here and then look at industrial goods. You sort by price and you can kind of get an idea what you need to be producing more of. We need more tools, and for the most part we could do with a little bit more iron as well, but clippers are totally okay. Shipyards, logging camps, iron mines, tooling workshops. They're the buildings you need to produce these goods, using labor to produce them. If you mass produce these items enough efficiently, the price will go down. When the price goes down, other parts of your supply chain can produce other items off the back of it more efficiently and more cheaper. And you can outproduce other parts of the world to make potentially worthy exports. What we're just going to focus at the moment is our own internal market, which consists of Norway and Sweden, and just see if we can appease our needs for the Industrial Revolution and then kind of go from there. First of all, we're going to focus on research. We are going to be focusing on going towards the Industrial Revolution, so we're going to need railways. To do that, we need atmospheric engine and mechanical tools. So we start with atmospheric engine, which allows us to change the production method of mines to let them produce more. I believe it might not even be more. It might just be that it reduces the amount of employees. Less workers, because some machines makes people unemployed, which makes people unhappy. However, it makes those resource gathering buildings more efficient. And when they're more efficient, therefore the goods are cheaper. Can you see now? The Industrial Revolution, it's all part of the plan. Good place to look is the current situation. So we're not building anything. We can select an interest location. We'll go for, let's say, the lowlands. It doesn't matter at the moment because we're going to focus on our own internal issues. We have a low market access in Scandinavia. Basically, 5% of goods can't get out of here because we don't have the infrastructure for it to leave. We can fix that shortly. And of course, we've got 10 battalions in reserve. Basically meaning you can make another army and it will consist of 10 battalions if you wanted to. You can make another army by recruiting a general and selecting the location of the HQ, and you can assign this general with these 10 battalions. There's absolutely no point doing that right this second because we're not going to be going to war for now. Okay, let's focus on our income. So initially, we're going to start off with a balanced budget. If we're ever in a dire situation, we can always activate more taxes just to balance the budget a little bit, to stop us from creeping towards loans and therefore generating interest, making our income problems worse and worse. When it comes to government wages, we don't want to decrease that because that's going to cause problem with intelligentsia and government wages. For the time being then, we'll hop into Outliner and then we'll attach on the interest groups on the right-hand side, just get an idea who has the power inside of Sweden. The petty bourgeoisie and the industrialists are the main two, and the less powerful, but also influential, is the intelligentsia. So basically, intelligentsia, the academics, the liberals, the industrialists are the capitalists, and the petty bourgeoisie are the small shopkeepers. They all have specific interests. It varies depending on country to country, and those interests can drive who you put in government and also what laws you pass. Hopping back into budget again, we've got some authority points. So my advice is spend those authority points on taxing things. Services is always a no-brainer. Then I go for things that cost only 100 authority. For the most part, that'll do for now. And we've got 300 authority. We can use that for decrees. Alrighty then, so first of all, we're going to look where we can gather resources. I think for the most part, we're going to gather resources in our main capital region. Capital regions are good because they have a bonus to migration attraction plus extra infrastructure, which is good because we can build it up taller and not have to worry about building railways. It'll make more sense in a moment. So what we're going to do here is go into buildings, Select to the smaller compact view, and then we're going to go and build maybe an extra mine and also an extra tooling station in Scania. We just double check the population here. Yeah, looks good. Yeah, looks good. It's a good idea to separate your manufacturing state from your resource gathering states. So in this case, I think I'm going to stick with Scania, and I'm going to build an extra tooling station here. All right, we are going to go 5 speed now, max the speed out, plus, and space to unpause. Off we go. So as you can see, we are constructing the iron mine and the tooling workshop. We've got a little bit of excess income here, and we are banking it. See that yellow bar moving more right? Eventually, you bank as much money as you possibly can, and you don't really have any access to it. So in that case, what I'm going to do is go into the construction sector here and build another construction sector. It is a better idea to stack construction sectors because you get a throughput bonus. For the most part, everything in Victoria 3 gives a throughput bonus if you stack buildings higher and higher. But there's a downside to that because it requires infrastructure. Then you have to eventually build railways. You can space things out to make them cheaper overall, but however, you're going to want to embrace the Industrial Revolution anyway. I'm going to hold Alt on the keyboard and click to build here. This will assign this to the very top of the build queue. In most cases, you want to make your construction sector build first. If you look really closely, it actually gives a predictive amount this is going to cost you in revenue. This can vary based on the cost of these specific goods. As you can see, tools are very expensive. We need to make more of those. But then you get an idea this is going to cost us 5,000 a week. And right now we're over our budget by 5,000. It's always better to work in a little bit of a budget deficit. So as you can see, as the game progresses, it takes you an estimated amount of time to complete that said building. The construction sector is complete now. We have more construction points. So therefore we can build buildings faster and also build more buildings simultaneously using this production method of iron frame buildings. And if you look really closely, you can see here the cost of tools, fabric, wood, and iron. And you can see the ones that have got the gold icons. That means these goods are expensive. If we would produce more of these goods, we can reduce the cost of these set items, therefore reduce the overall cost of our construction network. So in this case, producing iron and tools just to keep our overhead costs down is going to be in our favor. And funnily enough, that's exactly what we are producing. More mines and one tooling workstations. Don't forget the hotkeys, the plus and the minus key on the number pad to increase and decrease time, and space to pause and unpause. Try and get familiar with the hotkeys. It's best not to always kind of move your mouse across the screen all the time. You can become a lot quicker, more familiar with the game if you master the hotkeys, and I will be using a lot of hotkeys. So one issue we've had that popped up on the map here, as you can see, there's a lack of tools, resulting as an output penalty of 5%. This is pretty bad, because this is going to affect affect our entire supply chains in our nation and result in less production overall. So in this case, we desperately need to get tools. What we could do is import those tools from abroad. I'll show you how you do it, but that's not how we're going to do it anyway. We'll just deal with that 5% penalty. So in this case, we'll find, let's say, a tooling station here, which is in Scania. Here we go. Click the tooling station. The output of the good here is tools. You can see we're not a significant supplier. You can see we're consuming 60. So we click on Swedish market. You can see here we are producing in this set region of Scania. Not many as compared to the rest of the world. Britain, for instance, is making a lot of them in Yorkshire. You can right-click on here on the actual production goods and form an import route and sort those by how productive that route is. In this case, we can get tools from the Ottoman Empire, which will be 10 a week. And that could keep us going for the shortfall. Be aware this costs us bureaucracy. We'll go into that more later. And also be aware it might not be the most efficient way of making these tools. You might be able to make them cheaper domestically. Now press escape a few times, hop out the menus there and press space to resume. I'm going to continue building our tooling workshop. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to sign some decrees. So each one of these states inside of Sweden can be prioritized for certain production. Hence the reason why we want to keep our manufacturing and our resource gathering in separate states. And you'll see why now. So right click on Scania and we're going to spend 100 authority, see this, the authority icon, on going for encourage manufacturing industry, which gives a 20% output for services and manufacturing. Boom. And do the exact same for our capital region and encourage resource industry. In the meantime, it's best to do all these things at the same time. We're going to work on our pops. We're going to give them their needs. We're going to build buildings. And top it off is we're also going to look at politics as well. So the people in government right now are the landowners and the Church of Sweden. The way it works is the actual head of state gets a bonus to legitimacy for being in government, even though he's not the most popular interest group. In this case, 10% for the landowners. The biggest interest group is the intelligentsia, which are slightly more liberal. So what we're going to do is reform our government and include the intelligentsia. Because we've got a very large government now with multiple parties, it reduces our overall legitimacy. So we're going to kick out the Church of Sweden and 60% legitimacy. Legitimacy is important because it tells us how long it is to pass laws. If you have 0% legitimacy, there'll be no progress in debating laws. If you're at 60%, it's going to be a decent amount, but not the best. So we're going to hop into laws now. We're going to confirm this government. So these are the two people in the main part of government that are discussing the ideas that will make the intelligentsia happy and also the landowners. So go into laws now, and you can see the laws that are available. See the one with the 1 or the 2 next to it? That basically tells us that there's enough power here to successfully change these laws. By the way, the button 4 on your mouse is back. You can also click here, mouse 4. You can see that? And I'm going to press that quite frequently to hop through menus pretty quickly. At this point, you can choose which direction you want to send Sweden. Do you want to focus on your manufacturing? Do you want to go colonies? Do you want to liberalize the government and form more of a democracy? It's completely up to you. What we're going to do is stay more of an autocratic Sweden and focus more on assimilating pops to become Swedish. In this case, we need to focus on schools. Public schools gives more education, which gives more research points, which is more literacy. And also top that off as well, it gives assimilation, which will convert pops that aren't ethnically ours to Swedish. Make them Swedish, and we'll pass that law. So it'll take you a total of 288 days to go through each cycle to try and pass the law. If we back all the way out, it has a 22% chance of success. You will get events that pop up that give you an increased chance of success. If you get over 50%, you're really close to passing that law. And of course, you just got to keep waiting. You might get really unlucky. Welcome to the RNG of Victoria 3. Okay, so our income now is back into the green. More than likely, what's probably happened is some of the goods and services inside of our country are more efficient because the goods and services are cheaper. Okay, we're just going to wait now. So one of the issues we had in the very south is that Scania has an issue with infrastructure. Now, the easiest way to fix this is to build ports. Ports add infrastructure. You see that +5 infrastructure also adds convoys as well. That'll be a short-term fix. There's also an easier fix in this case. Because we've got a little bit of authority, we can right-click and just go for road maintenance. My advice to you is this is a bit of a temporary fix. Don't get too addicted to this. At the end of the day, you want to move towards ports and also eventually move towards railroads to give more infrastructure. By the time being, road maintenance will do just fine. And if you look on here now, go 5-speed, the network has been fixed, and now goods and services can get out of Scania. If you go onto the state here and go on overview, you can see that we have 26 infrastructure being used and overall 28. If you go into the buildings here, and let's say we're to build another tooling workshop, it will add an extra 2 infrastructure. You know, let's do it. Another tooling workshop, another one. And you can see our income has gone up now because we've made certain services and goods in our nation cheaper, so therefore more lot of our government buildings, government wages, military buildings, as well as construction costs have been reduced. So therefore, we're making overall more money by making those products needed cheaper. So at this point, you ask yourself, what's the question? What do we build? So you can hop into the market here, which is F4. I'm going to use that shortcut from now on, and select industrial goods. It's all about the industrial revolution. We can appease our pops at some point, or we can make money with luxury goods, or we can focus on our armed forces. They're the 4 filters to filter through the different resources. In this case, because we're focused on the industrial revolution, we are going to filter manufacturing goods, and then we are going to sort by their cost. At the minute, tools are expensive, wood's a bit expensive, and iron is very expensive. In this case, we're going to right click, build mines. We got public schools. That was incredibly lucky. RNGesus was basically looking very good on us right there. That's made the intelligentsia very happy, and it's also pissed off the church. Be aware of this. IEGs, interest groups, will move around depending on how you shape your nation. Right, so now we're going to build some mines. We're going to build them in our resource gathering state of Slaveland. Build 3 of those, and you can see they've been added to the production queue. Amazing. Next up, we might as well pass another law, okay? Public schools has been done, and we can do for something else. Let's go for dedicated police force. We've got local police force now, which is kind of like more of a state force where the ruling party has say over the political issues, which in this case kind of favors the landowners. We want to go for a dedicated police force, so therefore it takes power away from the king. All right, hop out of here. Be aware of another thing too. If you go F1, which is politics, go into institutions, you can spend your bureaucracy to empower certain institutions. In this case, education or law enforcement. In this case, we can go here, which empowers landowners as well as reduces the state penalty for turmoil. Turmoil is when your pops go radical and therefore less likely to pay taxes because they don't like the way the country is being run. We'll deal with that later. How do you get more bureaucracy, you ask? It's a building. So if you go on the lens down here, which is political lens, a government administration will add you +5 bureaucracy for every administrative building that you build. Easy. At the moment, though, if you look at our institutions, we're already maxed on education, and we could improve our police force, but the truth is we're not dealing with turmoil, so what's the point of fixing a problem that we're not having an issue with? There's no point. Just note here on the right-hand side, certain interest groups may have wants and needs. And right now, the religious schools are wanted by the church, unsurprisingly. The support is low and not radical about it. When they become more radical, they can lead to revolution. Okay, one of our researches is completed. It was like 2 of them completed, just from spreading from nearby states around us. So you will gain a lot of technology just by sitting around doing nothing, because other states have researched it too. It's up to you what you want to do. Do you want to focus? We look at our research now, you can see that it is completed. We've got 11 weeks left. Hop into it, and we're working on atmospheric engine. One requirement of atmospheric engine is it requires coal. So you're making an engine that consumes coal that helps your workers mine more efficiently. So in this case, what we're going to do, it's up to how you want to do it. If you're already producing that set item, you could right click and make it from here, but we're not producing coal. So in this case, if you go down to the lenses at the bottom, production lens, resources, and go on coal mines, you can start building coal mines. The only place we can actually build it is Scandinavia. So we'll build 2 coal mines in Scandinavia. What we'll do is also shift up this production queue so we make the next coal mine next. One of the issues you've got with Sweden that you will run into quite early on is you only got access to a very limited amount of coal, which is in the south. The atmospheric engine has been completed. The atmospheric engine is the first steam engine that has the actual practical application. The steam age has been born in Sweden. Okay, hop into research 2. We want to work towards railways, and the requirement for that is mechanized tool. So we'll go for that one next. Next up, we can now improve the production method of our mines. So we hop into buildings, click rural buildings, which is basically outside of the city. In this case, we can see coal mines and iron mines. Can you see this little exclamation mark here? A new production method has been found. And what we can do is hop onto our coal mines and change from picks and shovels to the atmospheric engine pump. And because there's not any coal mines constructed, it doesn't give us a clear output of what that change will do. So click back, click into iron mines, and if you hover over atmospheric engine pump, you can see the actual outcome. Be aware there's an initial upfront cost because you've got to pay for the tools needed to change this mine. But the end result of this is it requires less employees, laborers, and now it requires machinists. It will consume more tools, it will start consuming coal where it didn't before, but overall the output of iron will be higher. And the result of this is that more iron, therefore the goods become cheaper inside of the Swedish market, and if you want to, you have the ability to export it to make money. At the moment, we're not going to change to this because we don't have any coal, and it even lets us know this. Import goods shortage of coal will result in a penalty on all building outputs, and the predicted balance change will be 11,000. Don't worry about that much for the time being. Only worry about that if you're really in a lot of debt. But for now, we'll just continue and play and wait for this first coal mine to be constructed. Then we can change to the steam atmospheric pump. Wow. Because we're embracing the Industrial Revolution and we're making mines and we're making manufacturers, you'll find that you'll empower the industrialists. I'll only go over this lightly because I don't feel like this needs to be going into too much depth for this video because we're not going to be going too much into politics. In this case, we click on the industrialists, we click on the population, and you can see what makes up of an industrialist. Capitalist. Obviously, a capitalist is an industrialist. Then we've got shopkeepers, we've got engineers, we've got aristocrats, we've got peasants, we've got clergymen. Be aware, different interest groups may overlap in certain pop types. For instance, shopkeepers are also petty bourgeoisie, but the vast majority of them are shopkeepers. Gives you the breakdown here. Can you see this? Petty bourgeoisie, 58% of shopkeepers are them, 21% are industrialists, 10% are armed forces, 5% intelligentsia. So if you are building a set building and hiring a set number of people, you're empowering them by giving them jobs and also giving them wealth. So therefore, they will have more interest group power. Interest group power will result into what laws you can pass and what power and the power that you can pass those certain laws. Very brief overview how that works. But for the time being, that'll do for now. Okay, we have got a first debate of the dedicated police force, and the king has decided he's going to step forward and promote this set law. This is the best event you can get to try and pass laws. This will remove interest group appeal for the intelligentsia, undermining that interest group. However, it gives you a 20% enactment chance, bringing you up to 41%, which is significantly more favorable. Most of the time, there's a catch. To make a law have a higher chance of passing, there will be a downside to that. And in this case, the downside was unfortunately we undermine the intelligentsia. Another event has popped up. Insufficient agriculture. The industrialists basically are making it where in Gotland, the subsistence farms are not making a lot of money. And I think the reason why is there's very little population here. So the industrialists say, why don't we encourage people to come to Gotland to work the farms? And that's basically it, really. My advice is go for it. There's no reason not to, really. It just means that pops are more likely to migrate to this set region. And at the moment, they're currently leaving. Why? Because there's no jobs in Gotland. Sorry. Right, we've got some coal mines now. You go F3 for buildings, go to rural, and we're going to change our coal mines to the atmospheric engine, which now because it produces more coal. Spend coal to get coal. Makes sense, right? And also atmospheric engine for iron. Now, it's important now you hop into market, look at the market price, and then resume the game. Because remember, we need now tools and coal to make our coal mines and iron mines more efficient. And you can see the net result. The cost of coal has shot through the roof. Also, tools have increased in price. However, there's also a bigger problem. There's actually a shortage of coal. And the result of a shortage of coal, go on the map, you can see here coal mines are suffering a maximum penalty of 37%. We can see here that iron mines are suffering from a coal penalty, which results in a maximum of 37% from their output. This will really hurt their ability to produce enough iron in this region. And it's a problem that gets worse and worse and worse. So we need to produce coal immediately. We need coal badly. In this case, we're going to prioritize coal, click on the coal mines here, add an extra one here, and also shift this one up as well. Go to 5 speed and off we go. It is a problem that can creep and get worse and worse, so you might as well deal with it immediately. Raising concerns. The landowners have expressed their concerns. The government's decisions clearly favoring the industrialists. So in this case, do you want to favor the landowners or do you want to favor the industrialists? To be fair, in this case, the industrialists have all the power. They're going to have more money as we industrialize. The landowners are the old folks. We're moving away from that. Monarchies, aristocrats? No, we're going to focus on liberalizing and industrializing. As you can see, the maximum penalty now is 70%, where maximum before was about 30 plus. So as you produce more and more coal, this iron mine will now be more and more and more productive. Boom, coal done. Okay, one element we've not touched upon is good relations. Eventually, what we need to do is subjugate Denmark to form Scandinavia. To do that, if you go into your culture, which is F8, nation formation, you can see the nation of Scandinavia. And what are the requirements? You need 8 of 15 Scandinavian regions, and we're missing Jutland, Iceland, Zealand, Ireland, all the other lands. There's a lot of lands. And with that, you can form Scandinavia and eat the states that have good relations with you as well. To do that, we're probably going to have to go to war with Denmark. There are other ways of doing it. For the time being, that's the one we're going to go with. We want to improve relations with a bunch of states. If you right-click on Prussia, for instance, you can begin improving relations. This will cost you some of your influence. To gain more influence points, you can rank up in power. Ranked 16 at the moment. If you want to go higher, you gain more influence. Also, if you declare rivalries with Denmark, you gain more influence. With that influence, you can improve relations. Russia, Prussia, France, I think that'll do for the time being. If you were to declare war, for instance, let's say by costing to open the market, you see who you're going to be at war potentially with. France, Russia, Prussia, Netherlands, Spain. There are a lot of nations that have influence in the region of Scandinavia. So just something to be aware of. And these are the nations you're guaranteed to be at war with. Just nice to know. And as you can see here, we're boosting relations over time. The Russians really hate us. Nothing new there, right? Mechanical tools are complete. We've got some new production construction methods. But to top that off as well now, we can start researching the railroad in 32 months. Now, making the railroad is a little bit difficult. It's not as straightforward as you'd like. You're going to need steel, and you're also going to be able to produce the motor industry. So we'll queue up a steel mill, and we'll produce a motor industry as well. If you click on the steel mill, you can see the required equipment needed. So steel mills, goods consumed are coal and iron, which output steel. And then the motor industries requires steel, which outputs engines. Engines are used for your railways, which improve your infrastructure. If we go Alt 5, we automatically bring up the trade lens and look at buildings. And from here, you can see if there are issues with your market access. In this case, 95% for market access. You can improve that by building a port. We're going to hold Alt on the keyboard, shift at the top of the building queue, and build a port in this region. Dedicated police force is done. Man, passing laws of Sweden is so easy. And the atmospheric engine has been completed, which is like a mention in your journal. And with this, you mentioned you broke through and you welcome to the Industrial Revolution. Would you like more output for your mines? Would you like an extra free tech for railways or water tube boiler? Oh, there's so many good options here. 5 years for output, though. I think we'll go for that one. Right, we're earning some big bucks now. So what we can do is build another construction sector. My advice is stick it even higher in our capital region. Holding Alt, shifting to the top, building the construction sector, gives us more construction points, allows us to build faster and also build more buildings simultaneously. We've not got enough points at the minute to build 2 buildings simultaneously, but that port now is building a lot quicker. And you can see our income's gone down because we're having to pay for that new construction sector. As we finish the port here, you can see the market access shoots up. 92%. Is it going to go in the eye? 96%. And there you go. It's gone now. Full market access. Remember, as you hire people at the port, that's when you get more and more access. Be aware, though, when you extend the port, you're going to have to hire the staff to man that port, which is going to eat into your income as well. So whenever you build a building, there are consequences to behind it. You've got to pay the workers there if it isn't specifically profitable. All right, go into F4 again. Look at the cost of goods. So right now, coal and iron are our main priorities. More coal, more iron, and do you know what? Why not more tools, right? Remember, we're building our motor industry here and also our steel industry because these are manufactured goods and they will benefit from the bonus of encourage manufacturing industry. One thing to be aware of is how many workers you've got. As I mentioned earlier on, you're going to have issues with workers as Sweden. So if you go to production lens and let's say build something like, in fact, we'll do it better in political lens, administrative building, and you can see here the amount of peasants in these regions needed to fill the factories. At the moment, the only issue we've got is Gotland and Scania in the south. Scania is an issue because it is quite low pop. And eventually, we're going to max out our manufacturing in that region. That might result in getting rid of some of the farms here to move the workers to where we want them to be. To top that off, we can do is encourage people to move to this region by going for the greener grass decree. And this is spending some more of our authority points. Boom. And if you go into population now, you see there's a bonus in this region to migrate to Scania. More likely going to migrate internally from, in the case you can see they're migrating from Gotland, Gotland, Norland, Western Norway, Northern Norway, Eastern Norway. By the way, I didn't mention this, but at the very start of the game, Norway is in a personal union with you. So you click on it, diplomacy, and you can see personal union. Personal union is like a puppet state of yours. You don't get any money for it, but they're technically a subject state of yours. You don't have the ability to build inside them. They can control their own affairs. However, technically you own them. Another event. Would you like to piss off some of the pops by building a statue, but we get extra prestige? Prestige is another currency that you get more of, and it allows you to rank up higher and higher, and it gives you access to more ranks as well as more influence. We've got more influence back now, so if we go into Alt 3 for the diplomatic lens, improve relations, and you can improve relations with a bunch of nations too, so Netherlands is another one. Okay, we've ranked up higher now, and we've gained extra 2 interest locations. Once again, this allows us to do diplomatic plays within those regions. We're not really going to be doing that, but for the most part, we're just going to do them in the local regions. In this case, a bit more of Eastern Europe and the UK. We're going to go Alt 2, construction sector, hold Alt in the capital region, and build another construction sector. Assign it to the very top, build it. We're going to have to hire the workers for that, the extra resources to build the buildings, and you can say we're going to take a direct hit on our income to where now we're in the minus. And this is not a bad thing, because what happens is when you grow your GDP, this number, you get access to more credit. And what actually you're doing is you're losing money. However, your credit rating is going up, so therefore you get access to a larger pool of credit. So the truth is you're not actually losing losing money because you're growing at the same rate that you're losing income. That's deficit spending. Let's hop into our buildings again and see if we can change production methods. So we're looking at urban right now. So we can produce tools now using steel because we have our first steel mill. This is going to cost us steel instead of iron, and it means we can produce goods more quickly. Boom, done. Same, we've got our steel building here. If we click into it and click into it, you can see that there's not really many employees. Remember, you can't really produce steel if it's not going to be used anywhere. So how are you going to pay these workers? We're now using steel tools, so we now have a reason to produce steel. We're going to need steel as well when we produce our trains as well, which is going to be completed in 3 weeks. Now, to begin with, the motor industry is not going to go anywhere because at the end of the day, no one's going to buy these goods. So initially hired a little bit, they produced a few trains, but no one's buying them. The consumption is zero. So this way, this factory isn't going to go anywhere. But don't worry about that because we're going to make in railways soon, so it'll take care of itself. Anyway, 5 speed it up. Let's go. Build, 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 build. Another event. So you're going to get lots of events that all revolve around interest groups, empowering them, defranchising them giving you suggestions that could empower them. In this case, we get an option now if we want to empower the armed forces if we want to. And you know what? Why not? There are extra bonuses to empower and pleasing certain interest groups. You get the first bonus, the green one here, which in this case for the armed forces reduces the technology cost for military tech. And the next one here is amazing. Patriotic fervor, an extra 15% offense and defense for your armed forces. Be aware too, if an interest group is considered powerful, which is more than 20% clout in your nation, these bonuses double. They double their power. Potentially, Patriotic Fervor is probably one of the most OP ones in the game, as well as Propagandist too for the Intelligentsia, which in this case has the ability of 25 to 50 migration attraction. And remember, pops in this game, labor, are important. Because if you run out of them, you're not going to be able to fill your factories and your population and your nation will stagnate. So getting that extra migration attraction is a really big deal. What's happened here in our southern state? We've run out of peasants. There are no more. So we can't fill our factories out. So we have to rely fully on migration to bring people to this region. This will take significantly longer to fill the factories. But truthfully, it will result in these factories getting filled. We're earning money again. You know what that means? Another construction sector. I've just spotted here we're having issues with market access in our capital. Build a port here. You see what we're doing? We build a port. We build the construction sector. Build, build, build. Now this tool workshop was almost complete, so I decided to shove this to the top, get this one built, then we move back onto the port. Railroads have been complete. So you can ask yourself the question now, where are we going? What are we going to produce lots of? And what are our objectives? So if we wanted to be a kick-ass agricultural nation, we could focus, let's say, on intensive agriculture and then improved fertilizer to therefore produce more crops and then be a market leader of producing or exporting certain farm goods. Or in this case, if we're focusing on steel and iron, we can go for water tube boiler, which gives a production bonus for steel mills and coal mines, or steam donkey, which is just the same, and also nitroglycerin and dynamite. In this case, we are going to focus on raw resources such as coal, iron, and steel. We're going to go for water tube boiler. Got more production points, so keep improving relations. GB. At the same time, why not change your laws again, right? So in this case, we've got an oligarchy, meaning only the aristocrats and the capitalists can vote, but the aristocrats have got like all the power. In this case, we're going to go for an autarky, which basically gives us more authority and gives all the power to the aristocrats. Once again, it's basically we're stripping away their ability to vote. We'll go for that. It's not a very popular law, this one. Only 8.4% are actually interested in it. Fortunately, though, over time, that can improve when we get more events to help us out. All right, right now, nothing is being constructed. F4, look at the market. We need more coal. More coal. 1, 2. We're having market access problems. Build another port. In fact, we'll make that 2. Next up, we're going to have issues with tools. Build another tools in the south. Go, 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 go. You see the issue here? As you expand more and produce more, you need to keep expanding your network to keep up with the growth. And you reach a certain point where you can't build any more ports. There's a maximum of only 6 ports in the south here. When you build them all, you need to start moving on to railways. Railways are very expensive. Then you need steel and the trains, which then produce to fill those railways. And you can see as you expand more and more and more and improve your growth, you need to keep expanding the infrastructure with it as well. Be aware, it is more beneficial to build tall in set regions. So I said that the south is manufacturing. If you click on the building, get rid of this bottom tab, you can see throughput. Can you see that's 3% economy of scale, all right? With economy of scale, you can build buildings tall, up to this case, back to a maximum cap of plus 20, meaning that you will produce more goods from this building because you've built this building higher and higher within one set region. Now, there's a downside to this. There's only a limited population in this region, so you might reach a certain point where you just can't even fill out this factory anymore to take advantage of the throughput. Hence the reason why nations that have higher populations tend to have an advantage when it comes to economy of scale. My advice is try and take advantage as much as possible so you can outcompete, outproduce other nations, and therefore have a more competitive economy and make more money. The port is complete. Done. Improve the market access. As you can see now, we've got enough construction points. We can actually build 2 buildings simultaneously now. The first one's going to be quicker than the second one. Just be aware of that. Something to be aware of, as you expand your bureaucracy of your nation, your government is going to require more resources. One of them is used quite frequently is paper. Another one is fabric. Fabric, I think, is used for the construction sector. If these goods get expensive, therefore our overall overheads become more expensive too. So fabric is used for construction, and that's eating into our production. So we right click on this, we can build more livestock ranches, which therefore will provide us with more fabric, leather. In this case, we've got 2 in Scandinavia. We've also got 2 in Gotland, so we'll make 3 of those in Gotland. Also, when it comes down to paper, paper is a manufactured good. You produce some of those in, where we got Switzerland. So you want to think about this. Do you want the bonus here of manufacturing in Scania, or do you want to get the throughput bonus here in Switzerland? You know, we'll go for the ones in Switzerland. We now have autocracy. That gives us more authority, more legitimacy for head of state. Unfortunately, we are rolling back as Sweden. Top that off as 2. At the moment, though, there's not really any laws that are going to benefit us. So at the moment, we could just wait. Be aware, though, because we've kind of rolled back our laws and given less rights to our citizens, the intelligentsia is not going to be very happy about that. As time progresses, you'll find that your nation will be divided, wanting to push in a more progressive location, more like the industrialists and the intelligentsia, where, for instance, the petty bourgeoisie and the landowners and the church will probably try and push in the different direction. If you want to appease them, you have to direct where the wealth goes and therefore potentially appease them by giving the laws that they want. As you can see now, we're losing money and our reserves of gold are decreasing as the bar's gotten very small now. In the meantime, because we're losing a little bit of income, we're just going to whack taxes just a little bit more, so therefore we're not losing as much of our gold reserves. Eventually, when you get into the red, you start paying interest on the loans that you're borrowing for the money. And then that becomes a problem. It gets worse and worse. So my advice is just deal with that before you run into that problem. When we start earning a little bit more extra money, that problem won't become a big deal. Be aware, when you increase your taxes, you're losing government legitimacy, so your ability to pass laws decreases, and also your standard of living decreases and gets more radicals. More radicals results in potential revolutions, and it also results in potentially less tax collection in the long run. It can actually hurt tax collection by increasing taxes, believe it or not. People don't like paying taxes. I wonder why. Keep improving relations with nations. I think Austria has influence over Denmark. Great Britain, Russia, France, Prussia, Austria, Netherlands, Spain as well. Oh my goodness. Okay, a discrimination event. So you've got to choose 2 directions. Do you want to assimilate pops that aren't your own to become Swedish, or do you want to accept them as part of your culture? There are pros and cons whatever path you want to take. The path we get result in more authority, but then you potentially could result in more turmoil as these pops are discriminated against. We are going to focus on assimilation. Speak the Swedish language, as funny as it might sound. Hee hee. The water 2 boiler is complete, and we'll also go for nitroglycerin now. Hop into your buildings now, and we can improve now from the atmospheric engine pump to the condensing engine pump. Results in more tools being used, more employees, as well as more cool. So now we can hire more technical people, machinists and engineers, instead of just using laborers to move things. That will result in a higher output of coal and iron, but potentially an increase in employment as well. Once again, every time you change your production method, hop into here and just see what you need more of. In this case, we need more ships, shipyard, we need more steel, produce another steel mill. We could need more iron, build more iron. More logging camps, more logging camps. You can see that network access, build a port. If you can't build a port, which is the last one we can actually build, we need to build a railway. Remember, all your supply chains are connected. If you break one of them, you can result in a lot of issues, not earning as much money, and things not working very smoothly within your nation. My advice is to hop into here, F4, and look for items that you have shortages of. Remember, the shortage is that little red icon that you see next to that specific resource. And if a resource is needed to produce a certain resource to manufacture a certain good, such as steel, that actually will hurt all the supply chains and therefore hurt your ability to make a good money. But my advice is keep an eye on industrial goods, particularly in Sweden, because you want to streamline that economy and embrace the industrial revolution solution. We're coming for you, Britain. We're coming. Okay, we're earning a bit more money right now again. The profits are back up, so we can just change the taxes just a little bit and tweak them a little bit. Try and avoid keeping your taxes up for too long, because if you run into like a turmoil spiral, it's kind of actually quite difficult to get out of it. So just be aware of that. There we go. That icon there. Can you see it? There's now a shortage of steel, and it is for the tooling workshop in the south, and that's resulting in a penalty of 21% to production of tools. So now we desperately need to fix our steel issues by producing more steel. Pick the taxes up again, and we can also tax some more goods as well. Luxury furniture, as well as luxury clothes. Be aware this costs you authority, and it is a short-term fix, so just be aware of that. So eventually, don't keep the taxes up too high, because it will cause issues making your pops unhappy. You want to know how unhappy your pops are? You click on radicals here and you get an idea. As you can see, the radicals are actually in decline right now. There's a green number. There's been a mining accident. Would you like to empower the industrialists, the trade unionists, all the rural folk? We will power the industrialists. As you research more technology, be aware you can change different production methods. But be aware, read the tooltips. So important, read the tooltips. So for instance, government administration, we can go for standardized filing system. This is going to cost money and consume more paper, but it will give you more bureaucracy and tax capacity. Do not need more bureaucracy right now, so that's not a big deal. My advice, don't change that for now. When it comes down to rural too, if we wanted to, we could use tools to improve slaughterhouses, which gives a better output of meat for livestock ranchers. But at this moment in time, I just don't care, so it doesn't matter. One thing we will take advantage of though is we can increase the consumption of grain from our cows, which results in an output of fabric and fertilizer. Go for it. Once again, keep a close eye on your market costs though. You've just changed the production method. It's going to have a knock-on effect, so keep a close eye on that. You can see all the costs of our goods now are fairly affordable, so now our industry is running silky smooth, and you can see it is resulting in more profits as well. So now we can reduce the taxes a little bit. Okay, at the very start of the game, there's a few trade routes already set up. We've not added any new ones, but if you go into inactive trade routes, you can see that unfortunately Prussia now are no longer given as an import of wine. So just cancel that. Not a big deal. At some point, they may reactivate that, but there's no point keeping it active. Right, we've reached a point now. There aren't any potential more coal mines. So you've reached peak coal for Sweden. If you need more coal now, you're going to have to import it. In this case, it's easy. Right click on the actual resource and find someone you can import it to. Right now, all these trade routes are unproductive. It's probably because you're producing coal so unbelievably cheap. It's hard to find it at the same price that we're producing it inside of Sweden. If we do need more coal and we need to reduce the price of coal, we can import it from abroad. And we have reached the point, we have maximized our ports. We can't expand the ports anymore in the south, so we need to build a railway, and we'll prioritize that and put that to the top of the production queue. Here we've reached the point where railways are super expensive, and it's something you want to hold back on for as long as you can, but now we have to do them. Welcome to the steam age. The steam engine has arrived. Okay, when it comes down to our production right now, it's super good. I don't want to adjust it or change it anymore. We currently are doing. So what I'm going to hop into now is military. There are a few technologies in here that are significantly stronger than some of the others. An example is General Strath, which introduces skirmish infantry, which is a new kind of infantry that have more offense and defense, which are very powerful. Top it off too, also breech loading artillery unlocks shrapnel artillery, and some of the others improve production methods for arms industries. Some of them give a flat bonus like fieldworks, which gives defense, and for instance, if you want to get more conscripts, you can do that with logistics too. We're gonna go for General Staff. Okay, as you can see now, the yellow bar has disappeared, and now we've got a little bit of a red bar. If you look really closely now, we are borrowing money from the banks, and you can see there's an interest rate associated with that too. So as you spend more and more and more and more, be aware if you're too deep into the red, it may enter a spiral where you're paying more and more interest, and it's going to be harder and harder to get out of it. Just be aware. Trains have arrived, and we have a shortage of them. Are we not producing enough inside of our manufacturing region? No, we have access of getting labor from that region, but we will produce more as time goes on. Right, labor has become a massive problem in the south. So now we're going to have to disband some old industries to focus on manufacturing in this region. So we are going to get rid of 2 rye farms. Because we're not constructing anything right now, we have to still pay the laborers in the construction sector. However, we don't have to buy the materials. So as you can see, we're earning a lot of money right now. Don't get confused and think to yourself, oh, I'm earning big bucks now. Our industry has exploded. No, what's actually happened here is we're just not paying for those goods. So therefore, we have no need for them. But be aware, in Victoria 3, you really always want to be constructing. There are only a few niche circumstances when you don't need to be building. And what do you build, you say? Well, whatever your market needs. Tools and iron. We have a government administrator in here. We're going to get rid of that one. So we've got lots of excess bureaucracy. Fishing wharfs, we'll decrease that one by 2 as well. And as you can see, you're making unemployed people, and they're moving now to other areas, for instance, in manufacturing. Let's show you what else you can do. So go into your urban, change your paper mills to paper bleaching. This will require dye and sulfur, but however, it will increase significantly the production of paper. Paper therefore gets cheaper, therefore your bureaucracy is cheaper, therefore your overheads are cheaper. However, go into our market, we're not producing sulfur. You can't get sulfur inside of Sweden, so we're gonna have to import it. Sort by production, import the root. Same for dye, import it from abroad, and there you go. If you want to import more, you can do that, but we're aware the only outcome will make it cheaper for producing of sulfur as well as dyes. As you can see now, the paper production here is doing pretty good. As you can see though, we've reached a maximum point that we can't produce any more paper because we won't make it profitable. Remember, you need to be making more profit that's costing you for the staff for this. But what we can do is subsidize it, which what means is that you're spending your government money to make people work in this paper mill. But the overall result is you make the cost of paper go down super low. Right now, the size of this paper mill is way too large. So in this circumstance, it's not really productive. The truth is we're paying way too much to subsidize than we're actually getting back from the paper cost, so it's just not worth it in this circumstance. What we can do as well is do water tube boiler, which results in less employees, so this could be more efficient. And we could do that for everything, really. Go into urban, and there's a bunch of buildings that can have water tube boiler, resulting in less employees needing because the manufacturing has been taken away. Same with the steel too. You get the idea. I'll let you guys read the tooltips and understand what these changes are actually making. You've changed production methods. You know what you need to do now? Check your market and see what you are low on. Right, we have a deficit now of bureaucracy, and you're resulting in tax waste. You cannot efficiently collect taxation when you have a deficiency in bureaucracy. It's so easy to fix. Admin building, which is under your political lens, and then build it in a region that's already got some bureaucracy. Remember, economy of scale is important. In this case, build it up. We got rid of a few of our farms in the south. That's a bit of a problem, that. So in this case, we'll build ride farms and livestock in Gotland, which has an extra bonus to agriculture, which is worthwhile. There's not a lot of pops in Gotland, so we'll try and fill out these buildings as best as we can. As you can see now, your production queue is getting a lot longer as you add more and more things to it. And look at the income now. It's gone up significantly, keeping those costs down. Right, general staff is complete. So if you hop into your buildings now and go into development, you can see now the barracks has a new option. You can go from line infantry to skirmish infantry. One significant change with that is not only are they more powerful, but also they require ammunition. We'll change that over, and next thing you're going to notice under your market for your military goods is there is a shortage of ammunition. If you want to, you can import it. That's the easy thing to do. Overall, though, you can actually build a munitions plant and produce them. But be aware, munitions plants require items as well. They need explosives, and they also need lead. Now, you can produce lead in Sweden, but explosives are going to be a little bit more difficult because you're going to have to make a chemical plant for that. Don't really want to do that, so in that case, we're going to hold off from that. In that case, we'll do the easy method, and then we'll just import it from abroad. Ammunition is kind of new to 1840s, 1830s. So be aware, not many nations are producing it. And as you can just see, the big military powers are the ones making it. Britain, Prussia, France. We're going to try and work towards breech loading artillery, so we'll go for the shell gun next. Income's going so well right now. You know what we're going to do? Reduce taxes. Tax credits for Sweden. Low market accents in Gotland. You know how you fix that? There you go. Another port. So, if you want to empower an interest group and make them more happy, what you can do is click on the interest group, armed forces, click on the laws that they're interesting, and find a law that you can pass for them. Now, they're in favor of censorship, basically rolling back free speech, which gives more authority, but you get less technology spread. It's up to you if you want to do it. But there are a few ways that would benefit us more, like, for instance, investing into colonies, for instance. To get that passed, though, you need to find an interest group that's for it as well. In this case, colonial real settlement, and then you can see the industrialists are into it. So if you wanted to pass that, you could go into your government, reform the government. In that case, you could mix the industrialists and the armed forces, kick out the intelligentsia, 40%, that's okay. Confirm that. go into your laws, colonial affairs, resettlement. Not a popular law, but 42% is a decent chance to pass that law. Be aware, going for this change has resulted in more bureaucracy costs. See that? 30% cost for bureaucracy. And as you can see, the game's making us aware that you've got a bureaucracy shortfall. So when you pass this law, you're going to end up in a negative of bureaucracy. Best thing to do is just to fix that before it happens and just add an extra government building to your queue. There's always a knock-on effect. When you build a government administration, you're going to need to hire the people, which you're going to have to pay for. Top that off as well, you have to pay for the more paper. The paper cost will go up, and therefore potentially will cause more and more issues. Hence, supply chains. So now we've reached a point with coal that we just can't dig any more out of the ground. Right click, there's just no more coal mines. So in this case, we've got no choice but to import coal from abroad to keep the price down. So you've reached a point where producing certain manufactured goods can't be done efficiently because the price of coal is too high, then they'll have to lay off workers. And that's not going to be good for our industry. So import coal, in this case, from the French market. And the cost of coal has gone down now. So we're injecting more coal into our market to make those costs go down, down, and down. So throughout the entire game, improving relations, making sure everyone who has an interest on Denmark has good relations. And there are a lot of nations that have an interest in that region. Okay, an example of an unproductive trade route. So we are importing aluminium from Britain. The cost of that is significantly high, and it's actually hurting our economy to keep that trade route open. However, if you want to just maintain it open and continue with that, that's totally okay as well. But just be aware, we are getting it from other sources that are significantly cheaper. So we'll cancel that for now. We go into our market, weapons, and the cost for ammunition is a little bit high, but we are meeting our market needs for where we're importing it from. So that's okay for now. Next technology we're going to go for is military, breech, loading, artillery. So as you can see now, because we're passing a law that's favorable to the armed forces, we now have the full bonus of patriotic fervor. We kind of want to maintain that because that bonus is very, very strong. So to get a bit of understanding of supply chains, we can hop into market here and find a good that is used quite frequently. In this case, wood. So in this case, we're the 10th biggest producer in the world. That's nice to know. You can see how much production we've got here. You can see it from logging camps, subsistence farms, and subsistence pastures. And you can also see where we're using it. So we're exporting from trade routes, tooling workshops, pop consumption, the construction sector, etc., etc. Now, there's two things we can do here. If we wanted to subsidize our logging camps, we could make the price of wood go down. Of course, there's an upfront cost for that, so you have to pay for the subsidizing. However, we could result in more exports because our trade routes would expand to export more and more wood. And also, our construction sector, shipyards, urban centers, paper mills become more efficient as well because they can buy that wood cheaper. So I'm helping out other parts of our industry. So let's have a play with it. Let's see what would actually happen. We hop into rural, logging camps, and we also subsidize it. Off we go. Because this is a raw item that is used for so many industries, it's also used to heat the homes of our pops. This is beneficial to make it really cheap. It makes our pops happy, their living standards increase. To top that off as well, our industries become more efficient on top of that as well. So subsidizing like a raw product at the bottom of the supply chain can have benefits. I'll say this again, can, not always. But in this case, you can see we've made the cost of wood significantly cheaper. And by the looks of things, we're now exporting more wood overall, therefore making more money. Keep an eye on these supply chains. It doesn't always work favorably in this one instance, but usually it's a good thing to do. For instance, if it's the bottom of a supply chain. Breach, loading, artillery is complete. Buildings, development, and we can go for shrapnel artillery, giving a massive bonus to our army's potential. However, this requires more ammunition. So hop into your market, details, filter by military goods, and you see the cost of ammunition has gone through the roof. Now, the only thing we can do now is import this ammunition at a loss. It's not a good situation to be in, but that's the only way we can afford this kind of modern artillery without producing it within our nation. It's ourselves. Steam Donkey is complete. And with that, we can go into rural. Then we can take advantage of using engines as a part of our coal mines to reduce the labor costs. So just focusing on the goods that are expensive, more wood, subsidizing it. Colonial real settlement complete. The armed forces love us because of that. Improving the production when new technology unlocks. Once again, building more resources that I need more and more and more of. If I can't produce the good inside of Sweden, I import it in, such as coal, dye, and sulfur. Another production method that's quite useful is you can set up rail transportation. It means less laborers are required to move the goods from the production building to where they're needed. In this case, trains will do it. Why not? However, you need to actually set the railways to allow wooden carriages. And be aware, there is an associated transport cost with that. As you can see here, there's unfortunately a shortage. So in this case, I don't think I'm ready for it yet because I've not really produced enough railways to be able to do it. So we'll roll that one back because that's too early. When you start producing more railways, you'll be able to do that and therefore cut down the costs. Okay, I'm glad this has happened in this video, even though it's a bad thing to happen. So the rural folk are planning a revolution because they don't like the change for colonial affairs. Yeah, they're so mad. So what we're going to do is appease them by trying to enact the no colonial affairs and roll it back. As you can see, the revolution now is dipping down. However, we don't really plan on passing no colonial affairs. We actually want it. We want to use it. We're going to take advantage of it. But for the time being, we're just going to make the rural folk happy for a just short period of time, just to keep them sweet. The railway, boom! Railway production, steel cars, why not? Speaking of colonists, you can go into diplomatic lens, regional, and select a region that we want to have an interest in. In this case, we'll take this one off and look at the Congo. And what we can do in the Congo is send colonists there and make a Swedish colony. I know, right? What an outlandish idea. How would the Swedes afford this? Raising concerns. Do we empower the armed forces? Why not? Right, we're having a problem with unrest. Now, I'll admit, the game is not very good at telling you why this unrest is actually happening. You go into overview, you see 28% unrest. This is a big deal because it reduces migration attraction and it also lets you waste tax, and it's causing us to lose quite a lot of money as well. So why are they upset? Let's find out. We're going to radicals here and then hover over why the number's gone up. And the biggest reason, why people are becoming more radical, is the standard of living is causing them problems. Now, how do we fix that? So we go into standard of living, middle mouse. It seems like the people are upset at the lower strata, the lower class. Hover over their needs and requirements, and we can actually look at the average purchase for their goods. As you can see, the biggest issue is clothes, liquor, fish, services, groceries, paper, grain. Everything is expensive for these people. To be fair, we've been focusing on industry and we've not really cared too much about the average Joe and what their needs and requirements are. But the three main ones at the top are the big ones: clothes, liquor, and fish. See what we can do about that. With the buildings, we are producing liquor from our rye farms, so that's something we're trying to work on. In the meantime, I guess what we could do is try and produce some more farms. I guess we can build 10 of those in our capital region. Third up, we want some groceries too. So groceries are like a processed food that appeases your population more than the base good. So in this case, we'll go here and build some food industries, and we'll produce, let's say, 2 of them in this region. Because we're max taxes too, and we've got a massive budget deficit, we don't want to dip into more loans and get interest. So in this case, what we'll do is we'll cut off the subsidies for our raw materials just for the short term. Be aware too, we're running a bureaucracy deficit, resulting in 11% of our tax is getting wasted, hence the reason why we're building another administrative building. So what else did they need? Clothes and fish. Clothes industry, textiles, building the 2 of those in the capital. And if we want to produce more goods, we can actually change the production methods. In this case, we can go for sewing machines, and we can also go for mechanized looms. But we're aware though, sewing machines requires dye. So we're gonna have to import more of that. Looking at our buildings, going to our market, keep an eye on the production. We actually do have enough dye for that, so we can actually do that. Remember, when we produce more of that set good, the cost will come down, therefore be more accessible for the people inside of our nation. If they're able to afford it, their standard of living will increase and therefore less likely to be angry. Also, an easy way of fixing radicals as well is to decrease taxes as well. But at the moment, I don't want to be eating into loans and getting more interest, so I'm trying to fix this issue in the short term. Radical Prussia is trying to sway us. Russia is having a revolution, and Radical Prussia would like us to side with them. We can't even say yes anyway, so we'll say no. So, whenever there's a diplomatic play, there might be an opportunity for you to join one of the sides. Prussia's now into a civil war. Radical Prussia, and they're equal sides. This is going to be a very messy war. Food industries. Baking powder requires grain and sugar. Also, canning industries, which requires fish and iron. Also, distilleries producing more liquor. As you tend to find as the game progresses, you tend to focus more on more advanced production methods as time goes on. It's a natural flow of the game. You find more technological ways of producing goods, reducing the cost of labor, resulting in more production, more efficiency, and more money. Speaking of money, industrial boom. Don't mind if I do. So we've got the option to send a colonist, and we can send that to this region of the Congo. Why not? Send it away. We've got a few Britons sending their colonists here. This will take an incredibly long time because of severe malaria. Can this region be any quicker? No. Okay, in that case, what we can do is change our interests around. For instance, one, we want to improve relations with the United States, so we'll move our interest there. And top it off as well, we'll remove this interest in the Rhineland and put it into, let's say, Indonesia, because we can colonize that region if we want to. Takes a little while to build up interest in that region before you can do anything within that region. By loads of things, no colonial affairs is about to finish, so stop it, because you actually do still want colonial affairs. The rural folk will be upset, but maybe they've calmed down since then, so maybe you'll not run into issues. By loads of things, sure, there's a bit of radicalism towards it, but they're still okay with it. So just keep an eye on them. We can see what we can do. Once again, we didn't really want no colonial affairs. We just wanted to appease the rural folk. At the same time, we want to reduce the costs of the food industries to make it more accessible. So we're going to subsidize that now. It's going to cost us a little bit of money, but this will make our pops very, very happy. Probably the easiest way of fixing people's standard of living is food industries, textiles, and furniture. If you get those costs down nice and cheap, you're going to be in a really good way. You're going to make them very happy. So, to make sure the standard of living goes up, producing more textiles, producing more wheat, more liquor, more furniture, need glass for the food industries, producing lots of those, keep those prices down as low as they can go. Now we've got an interest in Indonesia. We can establish a colony here. And that one builds a lot quicker. There you go. And then in that location, if you look really closely, you can see what you can build here. So you can banana plantations, growing fruit, coffee. Dye is useful because we need that part of our economy. Rice, tea, tobacco. So a lot of resources you don't have access to locally in Sweden, you can actually develop within this region. And that is going to go a long way to expand our economy and less dependent on other countries. So therefore we can produce stuff nice and cheap. Okay, unrest in this state has been fixed. And in the south, still some issues, but you can see the number is gradually kind of in decline. We've fixed a good portion of the population. Just the others are getting reduced at, reduced rate. If you wanted to, you could do actually the edict of violent oppression if you wanted to. That would negate a lot of the effects of the radical pops, but unfortunately it would increase the mortality of that region as well, which we want to kind of make this more favorable to people to move to this region, so it's probably not going to work out in the long run. Damn. Number 1 tooling workshop in the world, and actually the most productive building in the world. Wow. Tools. Scandinavia. What next? Furniture? We're working on it. Because you've not got a massive population, you always have to be aware there are limitations of how many industries you can pursue. And right now, I've throttled myself. I've held myself back when it comes down to the fertilizer explosive industry, which unfortunately holds me back from tapping into the maximum farm potential, agriculture, as well as the arms sector. So ammunition and what little fertilizer I need is being imported from abroad. So you can see right now, we're actually running out of peasants. We don't have access to that many anymore. Most of the Swedish people are in factories right now. Now there could be a strategy, for instance, if you build your military up, you could, let's say, take out a strong nation such as, I don't know, say Qing, take one of the states off them, and then you get access to a massive pool of manpower. In this case, you take this one state in the south here, you've got 30 million pops. So in that case, you can use that to migrate just back to Sweden to use that population. Of course, less favorable in this game because we're discriminating against anyone who's ethnically Swedish. We have to assimilate everyone, so it becomes a little bit more difficult. Hence the reason, if you're a nation that's got a relatively small population, you probably want to work towards multiculturalism, which is here. The downside is that you get less authority overall, so less flexibility for edicts and taxing. But overall, you get the ability to use practically any population within your nation and not have to worry about unrest. Let's have a look at the population of the south here. Most of it is Swedish, so it's just Swedish people being Swedish people. Just get on with it. Come on. So now I'm building dye plantations abroad in our new state. So that means we will not need to import dye from abroad. Don't worry too much about cancelling the trade routes. Eventually what will happen is you'll be producing so much dye within your country really cheaply. Eventually you'll get a pop-up saying you can cancel the trade route for dye because you're making it more efficiently internally. And it'll pop up as an unproductive trade route. And there you go. I just had the dye pop up there say it's an unproductive trade route. Cancelled it. We're producing it domestically now, and more than likely, with the way I've set it up, we can produce it more efficiently due to the economy of scale and building up nice and tall. One thing to think about as well, it seems we've gone to kind of a discriminatory, ethnically pure Swede path. We could go for exploitation. Exploitation gives an extra bonus to 10% for throughput for unincorporated states, which, as you can see, I'm going to abuse in this specific region and take advantage of lots and lots of dye plantations. Unfortunately, the trade unionists are like, no colonial exploitation, please. Okay, well, we tried anyway. So, it looks like the trade unions now have got an incredible amount of power. I've never seen the trade unions gain this much power before, and they're so pissed right now, they want voting. I'm going to say to them, oh, let's give you some voting, a bit of voting, that'd be nice. However, unfortunately, there's no government legitimacy to actually pass this, even though the success chance is 82%. So, unfortunately, trade unions, you want rights? Unfortunately, not today. But as you can see, because I'm passing this law, the chance of revolution is decreasing now. So, I'm basically just saying to them, it's okay, I'll fix that problem. Just give me a little bit more time, you know? That amount of time is unlimited amount of time. Ha! All right, we're in a good spot right now. Industry is looking good. Rank 11 in the world. Everything is looking pretty good for us. I'm going to max out my military wages now. It's going to cost us a fair bit. However, it'll make the military very happy. We want to get the full bonus for military, so what I'm probably going to do is try and pass a law for them. But right now we're trying to pass land and voting, so that's not going to happen. It would have been nice to get the final card here, the bonus for patriotic fervor for armed forces, but unfortunately right now we're not able to do that. Maybe the wages will sway them, who knows. Now we need to puppet Denmark. That's right, every natural Swede would love to do this, so we are going to puppet them. This will put us at war with Denmark, Russia, Holstein, Mecklenburg, and a few other states that we just don't care too much about. And it's likely that Spain and Italy will also side with the enemy. That is actually a really big deal, and I wasn't prepared for that. Anyway, regardless, if you want to hop into Denmark here and click on the military building, you can see what they've got. So they do have shrapnel artillery, but they've got line infantry. So we do have a slight edge over them and a little bit more advanced than them. I'm still going to go with this anyway. There might be a possibility of getting Prussia on our side, or even potentially France or Great Britain, and that would cause it to move towards our favor. Russia's not a big deal though, because they have peasant levies and their troops are incredibly bad. So just one army in the north to hold the front line will more than likely be enough. Let's do this. Make a puppet. So if we have interest in this region, which we do because it's nearby us, we can make a diplomatic play. And we want to make Denmark a puppet. Here we go. And this is the diplomatic play. So our demands is to make Denmark a puppet. And then before we know it, Denmark's going to make their demands as well. So what's happened? Russia is a 100% sided with Denmark. France, Spain, and Italy are siding with Denmark as well. Oh my goodness, that's really, really bad for us. So we wait for the first part of the diplomatic play. There's not really any options here to sway anyone. No, we can offer an obligation, but unfortunately they're going to be like, no, we'll not accept that. We did our absolute best to boost relations, but in this circumstance, it doesn't look like everything is in our favor. What we're going to do is build some barracks. So we go into development and barracks, and we could build a few more of those, let's say, in our capital. We'll build 20 more of those. They'll take a while to build, but they do build really quickly. If it could just be Sweden and Denmark and some of the other smaller powers, it'll be okay. But if another one of the majors join, it's going to be a massive problem. So Denmark's demands now is to humiliate us, which hurts our prestige, and also have war reparations. To be honest with you, those demands are quite light, actually. They're not even devastating. Okay, Austria will favor us if we offer them something. So we can offer them a treaty port in Russia. Yeah, why not? Oh, I read that wrong. They wanted a treaty port either in Denmark or Mecklenburg. You know what? They can have it in Mecklenburg. Which makes sense anyway. The Austrians want more control in this region, which Prussia is eating up. So that kind of makes sense why they would want to do that. That's strategic to them. So that means it's likely now the Austrians will sway to our side. This is perfect. As long as France, Spain, and Italy don't join the side of Denmark, I think this is a shoo-in. I think we've won this. Oh my god, I had a heart attack then. France just hopped on Denmark's side, then just hopped back. What is happening here, lads? What is going on? And there we go. We're in the final part of the diplomatic phase. It is locked in. These are the nations who are going to be facing each other. And these are the demands. We can raise our armies now, mobilize, pop the boyos on the front line here. We're going to recruit a new general, one from the Baltic. Intelligentsia, let's have a look. Bigoted, oh dear. Woodland combat guy, an alcoholic. They're not sending our best, guys. Defensive guy, oh, this is perfect. He's a bit of a cocaine addict, though. Anyway, mobilize him, pop him on the front line of Russia. But surprisingly, there is no front line showing there. The other front line is here. Okay, well, I guess we could, the bonus to that is we can put both of our armies on the front line of Denmark. That's good. So right now, we're going to be at war. We're going to end up taking a lot. We're going to end up having to spend a lot on this war. So be aware. It's going to cost you a lot, but it is what it is. War has broken out. So, first battle here. Let's have a look how it's weighing up. So, Norway's engaging against Denmark. Their troops aren't very good compared to ours. Unfortunately, Norway wanting to take the lead here and going for the first charge, getting absolutely decimated. RIP Norway. The other front line is between Austria and Russia. And more than likely, they're just going to be a distraction where we take care of the main front line, which is here. We also have a navy as well. Guess what we could do as well, just to be really annoying, is do a naval invasion of Jutland. The AI tends to not do very well in these circumstances, so this actually might work in our favor. Next attack, Norway is launching another offensive. Norway leading the charge, and it is looking victorious for Norway. Eventually, what tends to happen, even if you may have an offensive or defensive advantage, is if you have more troops overall and you have a higher morale recovery rate, which can be broken down through all these numbers here. Oh, look at all these lovely numbers. You eventually will win the battles. And eventually we're pushing, and it looks like we're about to take some territory. Boop. Boom! Land has been conquered. Sweden has pushed, or Norway in this case. Okay, we're landing in the north here. Looks like we've taken some land. Defending here. We don't need to defend anymore. We can attack, and then we can push towards Jutland too. And wow, Denmark is getting absolutely annihilated. Pushing the front line here. We've taken all this land. The main army is based all here, so we're basically sandwiching them in two. That was incredibly effective. Mecklenburg is getting absolutely annihilated, and then we're pushing on the other side here towards Denmark and just encircling them. Oh my god, is this OI4? There we go. Denmark occupied, surprisingly, with very few casualties. Naval invasions right now are brutally OP. Recommended. Right, we'll take out Mecklenburg. If you want to click on the military lens, you can see who you're at war with. And you can see it's Denmark, the vassal states, and also Mecklenburg, and also big-ass Russia. If you want to break down as well, you click on battles. Well, you click on the front line first. You click on battles, and you can see all the battles. So your flag represents your wins, Denmark's their wins, and you can obviously see your vassals with Denmark with Norway as well. Boom! We've enforced our demands. Denmark has been puppeted. It now has the Swedish color. Beautiful. Or is that beautiful? Or maybe not. I don't know. Blue Denmark, is that a thing? Mecklenburg. Boom. One little slither of land left. Push! The final battle. Boom. So initially, Mecklenburg won most of their battles. However, then I turned it around at the end. Because once again, when you're in a battle, you have to recover your morale before the next battle. And they just can't keep recovering the morale quick enough because they don't have as many troops. I guess we could help out the Austrians, I guess. But it doesn't really even matter at this point. To this point, because our goals are met and we've got a puppet over Denmark now, the rest of this doesn't matter too much. So we can capitulate because there's no war goals on our side. So it doesn't even matter anymore. However, Austria is still pressing because they want to get their treaty port. Probably Austria aren't probably happy with us right now because we've actually backed out of the war that we brought them into, and they're totally okay with that. That's pretty funny. Anyway, gentlemen, that's why we're here right now. If you have researched nationalism at this point, which is under society, there it is, nationalism. To make doubly sure, we've even got pan-nationalism as well. You go into F8, which is your cultures, nation formation, and as you can see, we own 11 of 15 states to form Scandinavia. Boom. Scandinavia. Look at that. How beautiful is that? Now, there's no shadow of a doubt, you are a major player on the world stage. You have got access to loads and loads upon loads of manpower, and now access to loads and loads and loads of resources. Shipbuilding, agriculture, fishing, whaling, more iron mines, more whaling. Iceland, whaling, Greenland, whaling, and more whaling in the Faroe Islands. And you're actually 9th in the world. You're just one place away from, you're 2 places away from a great power. You're so close to Italy. I mean, at this point, the world is your oyster at this point. You've got access to a lot of manpower. And yeah, you just got to fix the issues of your nation, and then all the best. Sweden into space and also into Indonesia. Good luck, gentlemen. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want me to do another Let's Play playing as a minor power instead of starting off with a medium or major power, let me know. This is the next video. This one.